Peace, what's up everyone? Why Not Here? And here we are for project number 4. And for this one, I entitled project number 4, Phase 2. And the reason why I call this Phase 2 is because there's a famous graffiti writer by the name of Phase 2 who came up with this concept. And the concept is basically creating a bubble letter style that actually comes from your original tag. Okay, so I'll explain how to do this at first, and then we'll explain the reason why it's important to grow this type of concept from your tag. Right, there is an evolution that we're starting to create here, and you'll see in the next couple weeks how it's going from tag to bubble letter style to actual masterpiece style, which will then you have more freedom to kind of manipulate the letters as you choose. So we're building these ideas, and we're looking at the tag as the bone structure, so to speak, and then the bubble letter will become more of the mass or the body. And then when we move into the actual letter shape of the masterpiece, you'll see that it becomes a full-on structure. All right. Okay, so let's start with this concept of the bubble. And what we'll do is first tag your first letter, right? So we're going back to the basic of how we started. You tag your first letter. I want you to do that with a thinner marker if you can. Right now I'm using my Papermate Flair. I like to use these Flair pens because they're cheap, and they're also like just they don't bleed to the paper at all. The Sharpie markers are a little bit like they bleed a bit more and they go through your papers. So I like to use these so I can use front and back of my pages. All right, so you take your Sharpie now then, and what you're going to do is try to trace the outside of the letter, right, like that. And then what you're going to do from there is try to write your letter without the use of your tag. And then you'll see it'll start to develop a little bit more. Right, so the first thing you do is you take your first letter, you tag it like normal, just how we've been developing it through the past couple weeks. Now I'm going to go into my second letter. So what I'm doing is I'm tracing the outside of the letters, and normally my tag is like fairly sharp, right? So if I'm using my letters Y, and you know, there's, even if I have curved lines, they're very thin, very sharp lines, and I want to outline that with my thicker marker to get that kind of roundish bubble style. So I'm technically just going along the outside. So I could go along the outside with like a sharper type of line, like I could kind of outline it like this or whatever, but I'm not going to do that. Not for this project yet. I want to just, I'm thinking round, right? So I want to create a rounded shape or a bubble letter shape. So again, I'm going to do my N, right? Go along the outside of it. So what I want to try and do is like really capture every little detail in my N. So my N kind of bends here, it bends here, and then it flares up this way and kind of bends, right? Has this kind of angle. So when I now redraw my bubble, I want to try and create that as much as possible within my bubble so that I have the similar style, right? I want to have the same style I do the way that I tag it, and that's really important. The idea behind like tagging it first is trying to retain or maintain your style, right? It's maintaining your style. If that's my style Y when I tag, I want to have the very same style bubble letter when I create it, right? And I want to try to keep that as much as possible because that's me. That comes from my hand, that comes from my aesthetic, comes from my development of how we developed the tag from the beginning, right? So it's really important to keep that as much as possible as we go through this evolution, right? We have phase 1, phase 2, and then you'll see as we move on through the weeks, phase 3 will happen next, right? But right now we're here. Right now we're at the bubble letter. So I want you to do that for each individual letter, right? Start with your first letter, outline it, make the bubble. To start with your second, start with your third, and then your fourth. So the graffiti writer phase 2, this is what he did. He started tagging on trains, and then he would do his whole tag, right? And then he would actually just draw an outline around the whole thing. So he was kind of known to create that first concept, and what it did was it made the tag kind of do this now. This eventually everyone caught on to, and they started doing, you know, a similar idea of outlining their tag, and this is how things started to really evolve. This is how the tags become evolved to larger art pieces, which you'll see, and hopefully this is what you're catching on, that we're getting to as we continue on with these classes. All right. So again, tag, outline your tag, then try to write your bubble letter as is without doing the tag, and try to maintain that style. Okay, project 4, I want to see all your name in bubble letters. Now, we're not putting them together necessarily yet. We're keeping them separate because now this is a whole continuation of the way we created our tags. And it's also now a fully different type of letter style or alphabet, right? So you have a sharp style, you have a bubble style. You have 2 different textures that you're working with now. All right, keep it up, y'all. Can't wait to see what you got. Peace.